In this video, we'll continue working on ways to master the addition facts. The focus here will be on counting on to add 0, 1, or 2, and we'll also talk about 0, 1, and 2 less than a given number. Let's take a look at the addition chart again. Let's take a look at the addition table again. Here we have the 121 facts that your child needs to know without counting by the end of second grade. On this next chart, the ones that are highlighted in green are all the facts that are known if you can just add 0, 1, or 2 to a number without actually counting. So if we want to focus in on the facts that a child needs to know in kindergarten, that goes up through 5. So you can see that all of the facts for kindergarten fall under that adding 0, 1, or 2 strategy. When your child gets to the end of first grade, they're expected to know all the facts that are up to 10. So if I outline those on the chart, you can see that many of them are already shaded green, which means once you know that strategy, you already should know these facts. These are the only ones that are left to learn. So that's what we mean about working smarter instead of harder. That's why we focus on strategies instead of just memorizing. Okay, so let's see. How do you know if your child understands how to count on? We can start with some stories and some simple models. Let's take pennies again. Say you have a simple story like there were 5 birds in the yard, and then 2 more birds came. If your child uses pennies or fingers or draws something, that's absolutely fine. If your child just knows it's 7, that's great. But if they need to count to get the total, watch and see how they do it. If your child knows this is 5 and then puts 2 more out, and when you ask how many, goes back and counts each one, starting with 1 to get up to 7, then he's not yet mastered the idea of counting on. Counting on means knowing what one of the numbers is and counting on from there. So that would look like 5, 6, 7. Counting on typically starts with the larger number because it makes the work easier. Again, working smarter. You want to think big and count small. So if you need to practice this idea, besides using counters, you can go back and use something like the Rec and Rec that we talked about in an earlier video. So you could model a number on here, let's say 6, and ask, what would 1 more be? See if your child can tell you without actually moving 1 more. If she needs to move 1 more, that's fine. Ask how many now. Hopefully, your child will not need to go back and count all of them. What we're after here is that if you know that this is 6 and you add 1 more, you just go to the next number, or 7. Likewise, you can practice 1 less than a number. Here we have 6. What would 1 less be? Hopefully, without moving the bead away, your child will know it's 5. But again, if she needs to move the bead, that's absolutely fine. Hopefully, this is recognized as 5 rather than having to count each one of the objects. So that's how we can look at counting on with a couple of concrete things. So we're going to be looking at some activities and some games that will build the skill of counting on. But before we do that, what if your child just knows the answer? That's great. You could try a story with a larger number to start and see what happens. For example, you could say, what if you have 12 crayons and you find 2 more? How many would you have now? If your child knows that's 14, that's great. You might try starting with a smaller number, like 1 or 2, and have a little story like, there was 1 child at the lunch table, and then 7 more kids came over. How many are there now? Again, what you're looking for is that your child starts with the larger number and knows to just count on 2 more here. Here, start with the 7 and 1 more. If your child can do that without counting, just tells you this is 14 and this is 8, that's great. Another thing, when you're doing stories like this, ask your child, how did you figure that out? How did you know that? That helps you to get some insight into what they're thinking, and it also helps your child get a little practice with putting their thoughts into words. Starting with stories and connecting to something, starting with stories helps your child to connect things that they're familiar with in their lives to something more abstract that is just the numbers. But when your child's ready, feel free to leave the stories out and just start asking questions like, what's 7 and 2 more? Or what's 2 less than 14? Okay, let's take a look at some activities you can do. We talked about the reckon rec, how you can use that to show 1 more and 1 less. We talked about pennies. You can also look at the 10 frame. This frame gives great reference points for your child. So if you say, show me 6, there's 6, and then ask, what would 1 more than 6 be? Hopefully your child will be able to tell you it's 7, but if he needs to put 1 more out, that's okay. Ask again, how many? What you're hoping is that your child can see 6 and 1 more is 7. Practice with the 10 frame before this will certainly make a difference. You can also ask, what number do you see? 6. What would 1 less be? Hopefully your child can mentally take that 1 away and know that it's 5. But if they need to go back and take 1 off, that's all right. So the goal here, to add, we were doing 1. We could also ask about 2 more. Here we have 7. What would 2 more be? Hopefully your child can think 7, 8, 9. What would 2 less be? 7, 6, 5. Without actually moving the objects. The goal is for your child to be able to tell you without moving the objects, and then without objects at all, just knowing the number sequence and being able to mentally go up or down 1 or 2. Another thing you can do is to look at your dominoes and kind of sort them out. When we learn strategies, kids don't always connect the strategies to the work that they do with just numbers. So the dominoes are kind of a bridge. So what we're going to do here is sort the dominoes into ones that could be solved by using adding 0, adding 1, or adding 2, and other dominoes. So like that is not 1. This could go in adding 1 or adding 2. There's another adding 1. There's an adding 0, adding 1, no, no, adding 0, adding 1, here's a 2, no, no, no. I don't expect your child would do it this quickly, but that's okay. There's adding 0, missed 1, there's another adding 0, there's an adding 1, 2, 1, 2. You can do the same type of activity with flashcards if you have some adding flashcards around. Have your child pick out the ones that have an adding 0 fact, or an adding 1 fact, or an adding 2 fact. So now that they're sorted, you can ask your child to tell you. These are all plus 2. So 6 and 2 is 8. 2 and 4 is 6. This one started with the 2, this one started with the 6. If your child is still not secure on those facts, you've got 6, 7, 8. What you don't want to see is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's counting all. We want to know this is 6 and then just count on 2 more. So those are some activities you can do with your child to practice this skill of counting on. Let's take a look at some games now. The first game I'll share with you is called Bump. There are actually 4 versions of the game available. You can certainly make your own game board if you prefer. It's quite simple. We have 6 circles here, and the numbers go from 2 up to 7. It's a game for 2 players. Each player needs 8 markers. And the object of the game is to get all your markers on the board before your partner. Okay, let's play one less than. Okay, we need a regular die over there.
1 or 2?
Just one. Okay, and you can go first. Roll the die.
0.
And 3. So what's 1 less than 3?
That would be 2.
So you can put one of your pennies on the 2. My turn. 4. 1 less than 4 is 3. And I'm modeling saying the mathematics of it rather than just placing the marker.
5. And 1 less than 5 is 4.
Good job. 3. 1 less than 3 is 2. And I get to bump you right off there.
Oh no.
Your turn.
6. And 1 less than 6 is 5.
2. 1 less than 2 is 1.
4. And 1 less than 4 is 3.
Rats.
Bump you
Bumped
off
off.
there.
4. 1 less than 4 is 3. Back at you.
6. Now I already have one there. Do I
You can
place
put
the
another
second
one on there.
So 1 less than 6 is 5.
Right. When that happens, 5 is locked. I can't bump you off anymore. If I roll another 6, I just lose a turn because the 5 is already taken. So we keep playing like this until one of us uses all the markers. So 1 less than 2 is 1. So now 1 is locked.
5. 1 less is 4.
Now the 4 is locked. And so you keep playing like this until one player runs out of counters. And that's how you play Bump. As I said, there are 4 different versions in here that you can play. There's 1 more, 1 less, 2 more, and 2 less. They're all played the same way. Okay, that's Bump. Another game that you can play is called Capture 4. It also uses a regular die, has a game board. It's kind of like a bingo game. So either one of us or both of us can put a marker on the free space. And this is the 1 more than version. Show you what else we have here. 1 less than. If you want to do 2 more or 2 less, we're rolling 2 dice for this one because the numbers are larger. We'll just play a little bit of the 1 more than so you get the idea. So you may roll first.
4, thank you. 4 and 1 more than 4 is 5. So I'm going to find a 5 right there.
Right. And you'll notice looking around the board that there's more than 1 5. So a little strategy comes into it. The object is to get 4 in a row. I've got a 5, so 1 more than 5 is 6. I think I'll take this one. Your turn.
1 and 1 more than 1 is 2.
Uh-oh.
3 in a row.
3 in a row. I'm hoping I can block. 1 more than 3 is 4. And it doesn't look good for me to block you. But I'll go over here.
6 and 1 more than 6 is 7. 4
So
in a row.
there's your 4 in a row. You're the winner. So that's another game where you can practice that skill of counting on 1 or 2. As I said, there are different variations of it. Here's 1 less than. You notice the empty spaces are for 0. This one's using the 10 frame. 2 more than and 2 less than. And here you're going to roll 2 dice. Okay, that is called Capture 4. Another game you can play is called From Here to There. It's for 2 or more players. And you need some special dice for this one. Here's a board for you and a board for me. This board is nothing fancy though. You can just draw circles on a piece of paper. I've put this in a plastic sleeve so that we can both write on the game board and use it again. If you have the cubes for this game, would you grab one of those green ones? Okay. This cube has just the numbers 0, 1, and 2. If your child is still at a counting stage, this one is the same numbers, but it's just dots. So that would be 0, 1, and 2. Okay? So the object of the game is to have a higher total when you get to the end. You can decide what number to start with, but both players start with the same number. So one way to decide is just to roll 2 dice. You want to do that?
Certainly.
Okay, we can call that 21, or we can call it 12, or we can even add them together and call them 3. What do you want to call it?
Let's start with 12.
Okay, so we're both going to start with 12. I'll put 12 near the word start. Okay, and then take turns rolling one of these, whichever one you want. 1. So we're going to add 1 to that. That's your turn. 12 and 1 is
13.
Right. So we're going a little more abstract now. We're not actually counting objects. We're just, oh, I didn't go anywhere. I guess I'm still at 12. Your turn.
I didn't go anywhere either. 13 and 0 is still 13.
Now I've got 1. 12 and 1 is 13.
2. 13 plus 2 is 15.
So you can vary the level of difficulty of this game by changing the starting number. If you start with a single-digit number, you're just counting on with the lower numbers that maybe kindergarten would use. If you're working with higher numbers, it doesn't matter what you start with as long as you both start with the same number. You can also add a little variation to the game by choosing heads or tails with a penny. So let's try that. We can just play right from here. I think it's my turn, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, so I'll roll the die. I've got 2 and tails. Tails means to subtract. So I've got to subtract 2 from 13. Now I'm at 11. Your turn. 2 heads. So you get to add 2
So
to your
15
number.
plus 2 is 17.
Good job. I'm at 11. 0. Well, heads or tails, I don't think it'll matter.
Doesn't matter.
Stuck at 11. So it's like missing a turn when you roll a 0.
2 and heads. So I'm adding 2.
My only hope of winning, I think, is if you keep rolling or getting tails there, so you subtract. You're gonna...
17 plus 2 is 19.
And that's the way you play from here to there. This basic game board can be used for a lot of games. You'll probably see it again. But here we're just using it to practice the skill of counting on. If you don't have cubes like this, another way to do it is to use a spinner. I've got here a bent paper clip, and I need a pencil, which I don't have. We'll do that, maybe. And you just spin it to see what you land on. So there's the 2. This master, besides having this, also has a blank one. So you can put whatever numbers you want here and play the same game or other games that involve counting on. If your child doesn't need the dots, you think the numbers are better, there's also a master like that. So that game is called From Here to There. Another game you can play to practice counting on is called Go For It. So here we have a game board. You need some game pieces for each player, different colors. And again, a cube or a spinner with 0, 1, and 2. So we put our markers on start.
Oh, I was ready to roll.
Okay, that's all right. What did you roll?
I rolled a 0.
Well, then you're not going anywhere.
Not going anywhere.
Sorry. And I got a 0. Slow start to this game. 1. Okay, so you can move your marker to 1. What number are you on?
I'm on 16.
And you have a 1. So you're going to tell me, what is 16 and 1 more?
1 more than 16 is 17.
Okay, you're right. My turn. Hopefully not a 0. It's a 2, so I can move 2 spaces forward. I'm on 9, and I have to tell you 2 more. That would be 9, 10, 11. Your turn.
1. Can I share a space
Sure.
with you? Because I'm only adding on 1. So 9 plus 1 is 10.
Good. You can also add the coin flip in there if you want to do adding and subtracting. It's just another way to practice counting on 1 or 2. Just a simple game board. Whoever gets to the finish line first would be the winner. One last game called Rollin. And you can keep score on this game if you like. So we'll have an area for you and an area for me. So we're going to use 2 dice here, a regular 1 through 6, and then one of the number cubes with 0, 1, and 2. Okay? Would you like to go first?
Certainly.
Okay.
Both choose.
Both 2. So it really doesn't matter which one we start with. So 2 and 2 more would be?
2 and 2 more would be 4.
Okay. So then you could write that problem down here if you want to take it to the more abstract, just looking at the numbers. And then it's my turn. Roll the 2. Okay, I've got 5. I want to start with the 5, count on 2 more, that's 7. So 5 plus 2 is 7. Who has a higher sum?
That would be you.
So I won that round, and then you play another round the same way. So in this game, you're deciding which number is higher. That's where you're going to count on from. Remember, you want to think the larger number, count the smaller number. Think big, count small. And then here we're just translating it into an addition equation and just circling the larger sum. So that one is called Rollin. So there's quite a few games that you can play to reinforce that idea of counting 1 or 2 more, actually adding 0, 1, or 2 more without having to count them all. One more thing, there are some flashcards that we used in an earlier video to match the numbers in the 10 frame with the numbers. You can also play games of memory where instead of matching the exact number, you could say a match would be 1 more or a match would be 1 less. So you can have them face up and just find the card that's 1 more, or you can play it like a game of memory face down looking for a match. Of course, if you can play 1 more, you can play 1 less. You can play 2 more, you can play 2 less. So once again, I remind you to have fun with this. Take the time to enjoy the games. Don't rush anything. Some kids will get counting on right away, and some will need more practice. But certainly, again, the time is spent working on strategies because it makes learning the facts so much easier. If you need materials for any of these, contact Dr. Sarah Lee at SLLee@k12.wv.us.